Hello, hello, hello,
Mic
ladies
check.
and gentlemen. Thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman Podcast, where I sit down with fabulous people to have go-win conversations. And I want three things to happen, ladies and gentlemen, as you listen in on today's episode. One is you learn something. Two, be inspired. Three, community. I want you to jump into the go-win community and let's help each other achieve the wins that we've defined for ourselves so that we can live out our greatest story. Today, ladies and gentlemen, I got the big dog. I got the CEO in the building.
Man, what?
Rashawn Copeland.
Hetty, come on.
Now, Rashawn, you spell it's R-E.
R-A.
It's R-A. Okay, okay.
Rashawn.
Rashawn.
Yes.
Rashawn. Okay.
Not like
Rashawn
Russian, but Rashawn. Not just like that's R-U though.
Man, I'm so glad you're here, bro.
Yeah. Yes, sir. It's pumped to be here. Honored, bro.
Yeah.
Highly, just enthusiastic about this moment I get with you, bro. And I honor you, appreciate you, respect you deeply, bro. And excited about what's to come here.
Yeah, man. So just real quick, tell people about where you're from and kind of give you the backstory.
Absolutely. So grew up in the military family. My parents always moved around. My dad was in the Air Force at first and then moved over to the Coast Guard. So we found ourselves in Miami, Baltimore, all over the place, even Kansas where Toto lives, Wizard of Oz. But that was quite the journey there. But yeah, currently, living here in Oklahoma, born in Lawton.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So it sounds like since you jumped around, like, what was it like connecting with friends? Like, did you always have to try to find new friends?
Oh, absolutely. That is the toughest part about being a military child or military brat.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they called us back in the day, because you're always moving around and you can't necessarily dig deep roots with friends. And that's what sort of left us sort of detached from people a lot, especially not trying to, build a real deep, real friendship, authentic friendship,
For those that were around you a bunch, how would you say that they would describe you as a kid?
Man,
like,
as a kid.
Like Rashawn was going to grow up and be what?
So first and foremost, I was shy, but super energetic. And they knew I was going to grow up to be, I don't know, man, back then. Like, I was even, like, to me, if you had asked me, I was going to be an NFL player, but most of them probably would have said, man, that dude's a mess up, because I messed up a lot.
Yeah.
But I was really talented, but I was just, arrogant in a lot of places and ignorant and he was really skillful, but I just didn't have a lot there,
Got you.
when it comes to capacity to actually do something great. Like, I don't feel like I was looked at as someone that was going to be like great, and I'm not great, but God is good. His redemption power and him being able to write our stories again to go win,
Yeah.
Go win.
I like it. Go.
Yes.
So we have the elementary age. That's what I call it. It may be a different word.
Yeah.
A professional word for that. Then we have middle school.
Totally.
Right? What was middle school like for you?
So middle school was pretty awesome. I spent a lot of time, just trying to figure out who I was. Like, that was one of the cool things that, I was just going after. And it's really fun trying to figure out who you are because you get to, run with this crew for a little bit and learn a lot, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have a lot of wisdom, so I would just run off and just try to figure it out. There was a time I was listening to Limp Bizkit and Korn and all these different people. Then I would run over to this crew over here, and I was with Tupac and Biggie, and I was just running around trying to figure out, like, who am I? Who's my crowd?
Yeah.
And, then I ran with the jocks and the gang members. Like, it was all confusion, bro. My mentality was jacked.
Just kind of all over the place, right? Trying to figure it out.
Yes.
And so then, like, out of that middle school, was there any pivotal moments in middle school that you can remember? And not to force it, because then we're going to transition into high school. But anything in middle school that kind of, like, started making you kind of identify yourself a certain way?
Oh, yeah.
Or you still kind of jumping from one scene to another with your crew?
Man, that's great, bro. Like, it was a two-sided coin. One side was really shiny, the other side was really rusty. So the bad sort of a realization of like what sort of was shaping me was that, I began to really engulf myself in a lot of just, influences that weren't good for me.
Okay.
So I was around a young lady one day coming home from school, which she was an awesome young lady that I remember. And there was an older kid who was probably in the 11th grade that seen us time in and time again get off the bus. But he had a thing about this girl. And he pulled us over to the side by the fence. And this could be a trigger warning, but he proceeded to sexually, like molest a young lady. And that was the first time I like really seen like how dark things could be. He proceeded to rape her, but I ran and got help. It was, which I didn't know how far that was going to go, but that was like an eye-opening moment. Like this stuff is real, and it was just crazy. That kid was going through a lot. But fast forward, the other side, the shiny side of the coin was like I was finally finding my identity in something that, I was really good at and people would praise me for, which was football.
Got you.
Yeah, so that was my thing, and I was literally on the track, of success that going down that lane at that time, and I was excited about it.
So you go from middle school to high school. Now, during that time, I know you were military bred. So was there any move in middle school to high school, or were you pretty settled by then?
We were somewhat settled. We actually were there for an extended time in Topeka, Kansas. So we knew we would be there for at least 4.5 years. So that was most stable we've been since we were in the military. Gotcha. So I was happy about it. It was going to lead me close to senior year,
Yeah. So now I know you end up in Lawton at some point.
Yeah.
When did you end up in Lawton? What was that like?
So actually, I never lived in Lawton. Never lived there, but my parents were from there. And what we ended up doing after Topeka, Kansas, the next place that we sort of moved to was Miami, Florida.
Got you.
But because of my big dream of going to University of Oklahoma playing football there, I asked my dad, hey, can I leave Miami for a little bit, go back to Oklahoma and play football at Lawton MacArthur and live with my aunt. So it'll be more likely that I'll get a scholarship in state to play at OU. So that took me down that track, and I stayed with her for like maybe 6 months, and I missed my dad and fam like crazy. And I flew back to Miami. I'm done with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was Miami like for you? So
Miami.
You did that, go back to Miami. I'm assuming you were in high school at that time.
Yeah.
Was there any pivotal leadership moments in high school for you?
Absolutely. I would say as I was in Miami, I began to find out how good I wasn't compared to a lot of those kids in Miami. They were super amazing at athletics because they play it year round versus in Kansas. We really didn't have a spring ball, but our summer ball, they play it like year round, really talented kids. But I realized as far as a leader, I was just, that's the first time I knew the power of someone influencing you, someone being a mentor. I had a guy out of nowhere just take me under his wing. He was like a football captain style guy, and he was like one of the main leaders on the team. And I just remember how warm he was. He was like even probably one of the only Christians on the team. And I just remember how talented he was. I really looked up to the guy. So I knew the power of influence, like having a tribe around you at that moment. Even when I wasn't accepted by all the teammates, but I had that one guy I could run to, Yeah. It's always good.
No, it's always good to at least have one. You only need one.
Yes. Go win with a friend, y'all.
Go win with a friend. Now, okay, so we have high school, then we transition out of, and the reason I ask this is because I learned, I feel like oftentimes there's a lot of pivotal moments in these time frames that sometimes people reflect back on. They'd be like, I remember Miss Washington who sold something into me and it was triggered, and later we kind of go back to that. So now you're graduating high school and you transition out of high school. Let's kind of fast forward, like thinking about leadership. You talked about influence a second ago. So how do you define leadership?
Absolutely. I love it. It's very similar to one of my childhood, not necessarily childhood heroes, but when I was a babe in faith, I gave my life to Christ. One guy I came under his wings is Miles Monroe. And what he would define leadership as is very similar to this. Leadership is having the capacity to influence others through inspiration. It's generated by a passion, is motivated by a vision, but it's birthed from a conviction. But deep down, it's produced by a purpose from God. So I think first and foremost, leadership is not about manipulation, but it's about inspiration. Like genuinely living a life that people they just are drawn to, because your life isn't about you. Like it's about like taking that mirror, seeing yourself, cracking it, putting it down, and seeing life through like a window and being able to see life is about others and not myself, And I think that's the most beautiful thing. Like that's an inspiring life. Someone who is gone to their self and all about others, by the grace of God, So,
that's good.
Yes,
that's
sir.
really good. So the way that I look at it is, I definitely would say that leadership is about influence. And then you use that influence to serve, the ability to serve.
Wow.
So I say, man, the reason I want to get influence is so people allow for me to serve them. And in whatever the big picture is, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a big picture of what you're trying to do, I create influence with these people and then serve them in order to get to whatever that big picture is.
That's right.
Right?
So good.
Yeah. And so in your influence in others as a leader, what are some ways, because you talked about the ability to inspire them in order to influence them, what are some key things that you do to inspire others?
Absolutely. Like the first and foremost thing I always, and again, I said something like it's not about like necessarily having a mirror, but I first have to shine the light like on myself, examine myself and see where am I at before I go out and try to lead others. So I'm super big on that. My wife will tell you like, is my integrity there? Is my character there? Before I go out and try to win others, am I winning? One within myself, like not trying to in a legalistic way, trying to be perfect, but like, am I addressing those things that need to be addressed that are right in front of me? But number two, how am I leading at home? And then from that place, I feel like it's vital to just be sent, like, and not make it about you when you go out.
Yeah.
But it's tough though. Like it is tough. Like it's a fight, just to try to make it about others and all about serving others. I mean, naturally, it's very tough.
Yeah.
Especially when you start getting 1,000 likes here or, you're getting praised because of something you've done. Like, but it is a challenge, but by the grace of God, we can keep things in right perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I try to do to really help me stay people first type of mentality, but not so much people first, but because I got to be able to take care of myself in order to serve people.
That's right.
So there's this thing of like, people first, but at the same time, I'm a priority.
Yeah.
Because I got to be able to serve people, right?
100%.
So in that, some of the things that I do, and just trying to see if there's anything that you do like this. So we just talked about the handwritten note.
Oh, yeah.
And so when I wake up in the mornings, the first thing I do is try to write 3 to 5 handwritten notes to other people to begin to get my mindset started on other
folks. Love that.
But that's
good.
I say that's the first thing. It's not literally the first thing. The first thing I do is like get up, look at my calendar, look at my to-do list, drink water, get exercise in. Because all of those things help me be a better person in order for me to go search. So then the next thing I do is write these handwritten notes to begin to think about other people.
Wow.
Right? And so is there anything like you in your role as a leader that you've learned to do to kind of help? How do I position myself to be able to serve people?
Absolutely. That's really good. So one of the big ways that I've been learning, like being intentional about like birthdays, like from my internal team as a leader, a CEO of a company, which I call a chief encouragement officer, really not a business guy. They get mad at me all the time for not having it figured out. But this is the cool thing is that when you're intentional about even just birthdays, like, hey, I'm going to put, my team's birthdays in my calendar to where I won't miss it. Or, something's coming up and, it's something big for them. Not necessarily, it may not be something for you to celebrate, but maybe their best friend is getting married and you are intentional about reaching out to them to just say, hey, like pretty much things you do, you like text me at random, like, Rashawn, go win. I'm thinking about you today. Like things like that. Like, and just in my own language, reaching out, just encouraging them through that, like, hey, just know, I know your friend appreciates you so much. Keep showing up, and I feel and sense your love too every time you show up for me. Like it's just really
That's
random, but really good. Like short nuggets of just say you're appreciated. We see what you're doing.
Yep.
Continue to win type thing.
Well, I just want to make sure that for those who are listening, kind of repeat back what I think I'm hearing you saying. And
Yeah.
so in order to create that influence with people so you can better serve them, that's where we're going to
Totally.
stand with this thing. So the win is, so when you think about go win, the win is the win is like what it could be the big picture of whatever you want to do organizationally.
Totally.
But then the win as a leader is to create influence in these people's life to be able to serve them.
That's
right.
right.
So one of the right things, so the go, so you have go win. So the win is what's that thing that you want to achieve? The go are the right things that you want to be consistent in order to achieve that win.
That's right.
So what I hear you saying is the right thing for you to be consistent is one, put birthdays on your calendar.
Yep.
So then you can reach out to those people when it's their birthday, just a simple nugget, maybe
Yeah.
a gift. The next thing that I hear you say that you do is that you encourage them to be there for their friends or family for things like weddings, marriages, things like that.
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Give them that extra nudge, like,
Yeah.
hey, I actually see you showing up for people.
Mm-hmm.
I see your heart, and just encouraging them deeper into that. Going out being an influence to those they
Yeah.
love and that love them. So
I love that because it's really about how do you figure out how to be practical in doing that. And so one of the right things to be consistent is showing up for people on their birthdays. Another right thing to be consistent in is being able to encourage them to go do things that you think
Totally.
are really good for them as far as serving their friends and family.
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So good. I think people can walk away with that for sure.
Yeah.
So
care about what they care about.
care about what they care
And
about.
just a little short nugget. Yeah. Just yes.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Okay, so what is a book that you may have read that has helped you grow as a leader?
Absolutely. Ordering Your Private Life. Yeah, about Orland, or I can't think of his first.
World by
Such a
David.
solid book.
goodness.
Ortland, I think is his last
Wait a
name.
second, I'm gonna find it for us. But go ahead.
But it's such a powerful book just around like how do we keep things in order that
Gordon
really
McDonald.
matter.
Sorry,
Yes.
Gordon McDonald's, yes. Go
The
ahead.
things we prioritize, how do we keep those things in order? And parallel with that book is essentialism. Like it's one thing to know some good things to do, run after some really valuable things to run after. And that's awesome, really good stuff. But what's essential? Like what is the very thing? How do you filter your decisions? What's the very thing that you should be focusing on that truly matters most to where you feel you're called to? And those two books together have been two of the biggest influential books in my life, especially during this season as I try to steward what I have well and be a manager of my time and efforts to fulfill the calling God has for me.
That's good. You got me looking to see. It may be on my iPhone. It may have a different phone, but
Totally.
Ordering Your Private World. So one of the things that Ordering Your Private World talks about too, going back to what are some right things to be consistent in.
Yeah.
One of the ones, and I believe this is in the book, talking about keeping your car clean.
Yeah, just simple as that.
Just
like
as simple as keeping
simple
your car
things,
clean.
ordering it. Ordering up your life.
Order. And I remember when I first read that book, it was like a few years ago, but I was like, man.
Yeah.
Because when people get in your car, they can also see order, but it also just helps you
because usually what's happening on the outside reveals how we're struggling on the inside. And not to say you have to be, it's like all about behavior modification, but if sanctification of the heart, if the heart's changing, the outward world would change as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, the things we actually can control,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
So we talked about books, and you've kind of mentioned, I believe you mentioned earlier about somebody who kind of was an influence in your life as a leader.
Yeah.
But let's talk about that a little bit more. Who are some mentors, and what is something that you may have taken away from some of your mentors regarding your growth in leadership?
Absolutely. Everyone. So who are some of my mentors and who's been helping me develop in different areas? So when I first came to Christ, after hearing, a gospel message time and time again, from like Billy Graham's and things like that, just getting the gospel rooted in my heart and life. It was folks like Miles Monroe, that really just helped me with character, integrity. Like, what does it look like to change your mentality, your belief system when you face problems? Like, and sort of how to see your problem as an opportunity and not as a negative thing. Like, it helped me grow in those different areas. But fast forward, I started getting into like Dr. Tony Evans when it came to closer like marriage time, like, and things like that. And then even folks all the way to like, John Piper and Bob Goff, like those extremes, like, because I think it's just so much power when you even just allow yourself to read a wide range of content and people who may believe differently, because you can learn something, pull the gold out of any and everything that you read, right? You can eat the meat, spit the bone type thing. And that's what really helped me, because one thing that I learned from a mentor, bro, was like, I mean, you can learn something by actually, picking up a book and reading it, which is the fastest way to learn something. Or you can experience or go through something. I'd rather, instead of, I'd rather use someone else's wisdom than have to experience things myself. Yeah. And my whole first 26 years of life, it was just me going out being foolish and yeah. And not basically picking up books. Like, I never cared about development until I came to Christ, really. Yeah. When it comes to like spiritual development, actually morally, like figuring out, ways I should walk and things like that. But yeah,
good. Good. Yeah, mentoring is a really big thing that I see has been important in my life. Just reaching out to people and just seeing how I can figure out how to spend time with them. Totally. I always tell people when I first moved back to Guthrie, I was looking for somebody an older man. I always say try to have somebody 20 years older in your life than you. And so I walk in this man's office and I try to figure out how we're going to spend time together. We end up I have to meet with him at 6 a.m. on Fridays. 6 a.m. on a Friday. Every morning. We did that for almost 2 years.
Love that.
But when I first walked in his office, he had all these plaques and all these things on his wall. And one of the things that he had on his wall is Citizen of the Year. So he was named Citizen of the Year for the community. And I was like, okay, I need to be around this guy.
Come on.
And so for 2 years, I meet with him 6 a.m. In 2 years, around 2 to 3 years later, maybe I was named Citizen of the Year. Now,
what? Yeah. 2 years after hanging with him?
Hanging in with him, I was named
Citizen of the Year. That's huge.
And it's not that that's what he was mentoring me or spending time with me about, but it was just cool to see that like, the guy that I picked as my mentor, then I end up kind of being the same.
That's
him,
right.
So that's the plaque right there.
That's awesome. And yeah, that pretty much just shows the power of like just influencing, actually taking time to develop around others you look up to, like,
for sure,
and growing with them.
Yeah, and so that's what so whenever I go out and I do this thing called a Citizen of the Year talk. Now, so when I go to different places, I say, what would it be like for everybody in your corporation to be Citizen of the Year? And I talk about these 10 right things that they need to be consistent in to be Citizen of the Year. The reason I did that is because when I was in the coffee shop, somebody standing behind me, and I was like, don't nobody know what the Citizen of the Year thing is anyway. Like, a few people may have, but the lady behind me was like, hey, I think that's the guy, he's Citizen of the Year.
Wow.
Man, people. So then I started thinking that night, because of Go Win, what are the right things that I'm consistent in that I feel like people would want to pick me to be Citizen of the Year? And so that's how I developed the talk around that. And so I always ask people that I admire, like yourself, about mentorship and what it's looked like.
You got to give us a couple, man. What's a couple things you need to be Citizen of the Year?
Yeah. So enthusiasm.
Okay. Love that.
Because enthusiasm says that I approve of something. And so people see me in Guthrie, America. Like, if you ask people about me in Guthrie, they're probably gonna say, "Well, aren't you the mayor of Guthrie?" The reason they say it is because I approve of my city. It's not that things are perfect.
Yeah.
But I approve of who we are.
Love that.
There's an attitude behind that, right?
Yes.
And so that's
awesome.
I talk about enthusiasm. Then the next thing I talk about is notice. So the red balloons.
Okay.
I take red balloons and I say, I see you. I'm celebrating you. So then you're going around helping people recognize, like, oh, I'm noticed.
I'm seen.
I'm noticed.
Wow.
We're celebrating.
Wow.
Right, so I do that with a red balloon. Then also sometimes on social media, I give out the kindness award.
Got
The kindness
it.
award, I'll say, hey, I want to give a kindness award to um, Nick Gilliam because every time I see Nick, he gives me a high five. And so
I love
so
that.
those are a
You're
couple.
empowering people.
Yeah.
It's an empowering mindset.
So notice the first thing you talked about when I talked about leadership was like influence on people, and then how do you serve them?
Yeah.
Right? That's what you talked. And so that's what that is. It's like,
Love that.
So those are a couple: enthusiasm and
See,
definitely.
you're so good at the practical, bro. That's why I can't wait to. I can't wait to keep learning from you, bro.
Man,
like,
no, that's true. I'm
crazy.
sitting down with you. Like, I want to learn from you. So, as a CEO. Just talk to me about that. Like I don't get the opportunity to sit across from CEOs very often, right?
Man.
Just talk to me about the process and what are some key things that you find yourself to be consistent in to be the best chief encouragement officer.
That's it, bro. Well,
and I know you've already given us the birthdays and you've also talked about care about what they care about.
Yeah.
What else is there?
So I would say a couple vital things that I've even learned during my time is people are always watching you. Like they're watching how you respond to those tough moments, the problems within the organization. And even, what happens when, two of your people are going at it, and you have to actually deal with it, right? And those are some of the moments where I feel like are defining moments to each one of those people, that are going after. So one of the biggest things is just, I think, just remember what you've been given and trusted to as a leader. Like we don't want to sort of put ourselves on some type of platform or pedestal as though we're like so far off from our leaders or delegate like things that we actually need to get in. But sometimes we got to jump into the hard stuff because those are the most precious moments that like can really bring a team together rather than farther dividing them. Because a lot of times they want to hear from you as the leader. Like a big part of like the reason some of them even came on the team is because of me as the leader, right? And some of you listening in right now, they came on because they believe in your vision. They believe in where you're taking them, and for you to bail out. And I've been there where I've bailed out on some circumstances, and I was just like, man, I wish I could have been there. I should have been there a week ago, or I should have been there 2 weeks ago. So I've learned a lot over this past, year and a half in my CEO position, just showing up, going through the hard stuff, but finding ways to empower your team and not make it about yourself. And here's the cool thing, Hetty. Like sometimes, even pushback, if there's men, say for instance, we ran into an issue where a gentleman, he would just keep showing up into meetings where he wasn't necessarily supposed to be through Zoom, which was which was all good, but it was just times where he can just get in the way of actually stuff getting done. Yeah. And what I would kindly do, instead of like just confronting him in such a way that like critiqued him, like what I did was I texted him and I just let my COO know that, hey, I'm gonna slide out. I'm gonna tell my buddy I'm gonna give him a call real quick. And then when they was getting after the meeting, I had just a heart to heart with them, like, how's your day going, bro? Like, and this and that. And I was letting him get all his energy out and this and that. And then we found a way to like eventually, graciously give him another opportunity elsewhere outside of like that meeting context. And we assigned him to something else that really drives him and empowers him and moves him towards development versus like jumping and feeling like he needs to be in this meeting over here. So it's just trying to find ways instead of like, cause men don't take like crazy critique up front, like really well, but finding a way to like, hey, this is actually really better for you if you want to do this. Yeah. Like, just finding ways to work around stuff like that has been really good too. Yeah. Because I'm not like that type A, like, hey, dude, just get out of this meeting. You don't belong here. Like, I want to help it develop and push them towards something else. So. Yeah.
That's good, man.
Yes,
no,
sir.
I'm not that way either. And I think that's another key thing too, is just people kind of finding their strengths or like what's more their personality
Uh-huh.
in order to be able to be okay with leading in that way.
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
then that way I can communicate to people like, well, I'm not really a type A. I'm more of a yellow, where I'm more like a person who's going to encourage people,
Totally.
be kind to people.
Yeah.
Not to say that a type A can't be kind.
Yeah,
but they're just
yep.
more
Like,
could be
boom.
demanding and.
Yeah.
I'm just not that way.
Just
And I'm okay,
drivers.
but I like red. I like these people that we would call a red. Let's call them a red.
Yeah.
Do the color personality because they have something that I don't. I don't
Yeah.
have that type of personality that's going to be getting there, and we need that sometimes.
Totally, we do.
Yeah.
It balances us out well.
Yes,
That's
yes.
why I had a good COO. He could really get to that, you know.
Yeah.
And I was, I'm more, you know how
That's
we
good.
are.
Yeah.
Really people oriented, you know, focus on the heart.
Yes.
You know, and being delicate with that. You
For
know.
sure. Let's talk real quick. Love your role as a CEO and kind of what I hear you saying is about you creating that vision and people coming in behind that vision, wanting to be a part of it. Another thing that I do get to see is like your creative side with TikTok. And,
Oh yeah, love that.
And I believe in questions. Before my kids would go to bed back in the day, we would do a question before bed.
Yeah.
Where I would pose them a question and then let them respond.
That's
And
right.
we kind of talk through it. You ask powerful questions on TikTok to get responses from people.
Exactly.
Where did that come from?
Man, well, it started right during the pandemic. Jesus is King album had came out from Kanye, and I was walking through, you know, sort of the Walmart aisles, and I noticed everyone had masks on. They were really quiet. It was almost like dead men walking to me. Like it was just so sad, like just to see everyone with straight faces and like, and meanwhile, this is what I was going through. I had just got off a little spiritual high in the car. You know, I was just thinking about meditating on this verse that basically says, you know, oh, bless the Lord with all my soul, with all that is within me, bless his holy name. And like, who forget not his benefits. And I was just meditating on this, and I was like, meanwhile, in my head, I had to pause and stop and was like, meanwhile, there are billions of people that don't even know his benefits. And I'm walking right past them right now. Like some of them may not even know what the Lord has came to do and how he wants to free them and just wants them to experience his love. So I was just like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to tell everybody Jesus is king. And I'm going to bring humor to it. And I'm going to ask him a question. Do you believe that? So I really went up. I took down my mask. I probably shouldn't have did this. It was protocol at the time. So I walked up to a Walmart worker and I went with my phone up in the air. Is Jesus king? Yes or no? And I'm looking through the camera, looking at him.
Yeah.
And he turns back slowly, looks at me, smiles, and says, yes, he's king. And then I was like, what? We're on to something. I turned it off, talked to him for a little bit. Some of the most powerful moments happen after I do just simple questions like that. But then I just started a trend called Jesus is king, yes or no. And I've been doing that for years now. And it sort of exploded because a lot of people just find it as a thrill to just see people respond to that heart-wrenching but joy-filling question.
No, it's really good. And now you have a new question that you asked. What is it? I saw one.
Oh,
today.
yeah.
You asked a young lady.
Let me see.
Somebody going through a hard time. What would you tell them?
Oh, yeah.
what
So first, the entry question is like, is Jesus king typically yes or no? Or everybody smile. And then once they respond, I ask them, what would you tell to the kid out there struggling right now? Like, what is that one thing you would share with the world today to encourage them?
Yeah.
And then from there, they take over and they have the mic. And, you know, sometimes, you know, millions of people hear it, sometimes thousands of people. But at the end of the day, if it reaches one person and it really makes an impact, it's all the more worth it, you know?
For sure. Like, do you have a rhythm behind that? Like, is that once a week you try to do those kind of things? Do you go out and just ride around for a couple of hours and get as many as you can? Or does it just happen sporadically?
Both ends. So I get really specific in my calendar. I call it TikTok evangelism hour. And I have that about 3 days out of the week where this is that time allotted for that. However, I'm sporadic as well. If I'm out with my family and kids and I just feel compelled and I feel the Lord like highlighting someone, hey, I'll go and do it, and it's just been so cool to see how God uses that. But it's also amazing. Like, it seems like every time I've really prayed about it first and I've sensed the Lord saying, hey, that person, usually, and I'm not going off a whim and just going off to anyone and everyone. That's when I see some of the most powerful videos when the Lord tells me to go do it to that person. Yeah.
That's
powerful.
good. That's
Good.
How did you come up with the question? I know you said the Jesus is King was based on Kanye's album.
Yeah.
And you kind of got that from that. How did you come up with any of the other questions? Was there anything specific that happened in your life, or like why did you come up with those questions?
Yeah, I'm constantly asking questions that back when I was an unbeliever, I would find either super encouraging or challenging. And for instance, what would you say to everyone out there? Like, or how would you encourage someone out there? I didn't even know really what encouragement looked like because I was just so caught up in myself. Even though I could compliment someone, just because most of the time it was driven by another E word called envy. Like, if I really like someone's stuff, I would just be like, hey, I like that. It's because I want that. But to have someone ask you, as someone far away from the Lord, like, how can you encourage someone out there? It's a challenging question to many because half the times their cup is empty, sadly. And some days, even as a believer, my cup feels empty, right? But I feel like, man, the moment someone opens up, even if it's a few words, the moment they make it not about themselves, all of a sudden they get a jolt of joy because God has just wired us to be givers, like He's a giver, to be an encourager, like He's an encourager, right? So, like, man, I just see the difference when someone else pours out, even if their day was depleted at first.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. So, quick question: if there was a billboard, all of the world could see, everybody's gonna get to see this billboard. What statement or phrase or question are you going to put on it?
Wow. Okay. Love that question. So good. Man, I probably would I would say Jesus is King, but everybody smile with the L with a cross on it. And I say this because it made God smile when He put Jesus on the cross for us. From the standpoint, for God so loved the world that He gave His one and only Son, His begotten Son. So if anyone believes, they'll never perish but have everlasting life. But He poured His wrath out on His Son so we could walk into God's presence and God could see His Son in us. And so we wouldn't have to live a perfect life or live a life that, is just, oh, I'm holier than thou. Like, we can be who God's called us to be freely because of what Jesus did on the cross and how He loved us and He smiles upon us. Zephaniah says, like, the Lord is singing over you today,
Yeah, that's good.
And I just want to encourage somebody with that. Like, and I love, like, cause I'm happy. For real.
Yes.
The reason why that song transcended, just nations and it went all over the world, viral, crazy, because everyone relates to this, to a smile. Everyone relates to just happiness, and it tells you, like, it takes more energy to frown than smile. Like, imagine the joy just your smile brings, right? All
and
you listening out there.
It.
Yes, everyone understands
regardless of where you're at, you can smile and they're gonna smile back typically. Yeah, that's good.
Woo.
You wake up tomorrow, where are you going? You can go anywhere you want.
Wow. If I wake up tomorrow, where I'm going, wherever my wife want to go, because at the end of the day, she be calling all the ropes, she be, man. But knowing her,
Where's she going?
Knowing her, it probably
where she wants.
It probably would be back to Puerto Rico or Israel. Her dream is Israel, but she can't stay too far from home.
Yeah,
she definitely wants to visit.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's All right,
Awesome.
so you got $1 million. How are you using it?
Wow, that's a great question. And this is the thing. I'm trying to
You
figure
like, this is the thing. I need $1 million. You know what I'm trying to
yeah, basically, right? Love it. Okay, $1 million, first place I'm going. I'm getting 3 trusted friends around me, at least, because there's safety in a multitude of counselors. I'll pray about it, but I'm going to get around some men. And basically, you know how, basically foundations and boards where I need counselors. I need men to help me learn how to steward, men that's been with $1 million, men who are even not, they don't necessarily have to be with $1 million, but they've been known to be trusted with a little. Yeah. And then I'll get wisdom. And then I would love to give a good amount of it away or invest towards the kingdom. But yeah, I feel like, knowing me, I probably would buy I use 10, 15, 30% to buy. I don't know. I don't know, man. Hey, I'm just thinking about me, knowing me. Let me go get this or let me go get that. But I will be thinking intentionally, like, how can I make an impact? Because it's impact for God's kingdom before anything.
I bet I love the honesty.
Yes. Knowing me though, like if I see that $1 million, 300,000, can I at least do something with this? Let me buy a house, maybe get some land, cultivate the ground. Yes. But yeah,
that's good. Tell us about Blessed Media. Like, where'd you get the name from?
So Blessed Media, we started this page years ago, after I came to Christ, called I'm So Blessed Daily. And it was just supposed to be daily doses of encouragement. And it really exploded. It took off by the grace of God. But now, that we're actual company, I was just like, I love this, this word blessed. Like, the world even understands what blessings or blessed is. And what I want to do is sort of, what does it look like to be a ministry that's driven to serve and support others and be a blessing, rather than, just what you would deem blessing is like, it's all about me receiving a blessing, but like, how do we actually use it as a vehicle to give. And that's what we learned. The law of reciprocity is real too, bro. Like I've been learning that more and more. Like when you invest or when you give, when you sow, like it's amazing how, someone else, like they'll even just come back and just not just say we give to receive, but that's a law. Like you reap what you sow, right? Yeah. And it's beautiful. Yeah. I've been actually seeing God like work and use that, which we don't give to receive, but that's just how it goes, you know?
All right. So we got 3 more questions. One, for that person who's looking to entrepreneur, looking to start their thing, what's the tip that you're going to give them?
I would say, the very first tip, I would just say you have to start somewhere. Just start where you are. You literally, and I know that's probably said a lot or, but you literally have to start what you have and be faithful with that. But here's what Solomon, 2 things I'll give you. Sow your seed in the morning. Let not your hand go idle in the evening, because you don't know which one to prosper, whether this one or that one. And then another thing Solomon said, which I love so much, and it's even played out even in Jesus' life a little bit, like basically, do 6 ventures, even 7, because you don't know when, the end is coming, or you don't know when, I forgot what it's a D word, but you don't know when like a drought or something's destruction is going to come. So like invest in more things, like invest. Yeah. I would encourage that. And again, even first starting with yourself though, I just want to encourage someone, because a seed, we can sit it here for 50 years right here on this table. And it ain't doing nothing unless it's in an environment that's conducive for its growth. So make sure you're planted too.
Good. Yeah. All right. So for that young leader out there, what are you telling them?
Wow. Woo. Character before your company. Our character before the project. Character before the content. Literally it starts with you like, man, we have to be the same men from the standpoint, and again, this is somewhere all growing in, at 2 a.m. that we are at 2 p.m., and just like really trying to become one, integrity, like integrated, one, being one and not a this and there and everywhere, and being a man. Yeah, solid and sold out.
So this is a go win conversation.
Uh-huh.
What does go win mean to you when you hear that?
Woo! I love that. So it's extremely. It's more like not focused towards the one who's saying it. I love that. It's a super empowering phrase. Like, go win, bro. Like, go win. That's what I hear, Hetty. Go win. Every time I see that phrase. So it's just, it makes me, the first thing I think about when it says go win, I see someone who may be older or younger, it doesn't matter, but they believe in the person across from them. And thank you, Hetty, for believing in me. Because every time I see you, or even see your shirts, kindness, go win. Like, it reminds me, like, no matter how bad my day is going, I'm still here purposefully. And there's people that need me to show up today with my best attitude.
That's good. That's good, man. Bro, thank you for being here today.
Yes, sir.
How
thank
can people
you,
find you on social?
Awesome. Well, anywhere you go, Rashawn Copeland or Jesus is King, yes or no, check the hashtag. ShareTheKing.com too.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hitting that play button for another episode of the Hetty Coleman Podcast. Woo. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, go win.